Welcome everyone to the Pantheon. I'm Ray Schoenberg, and today we're looking at Amazing Spider-Man 1979, the pilot. The show came out 1979, September 14th, 1979 to be precise. It is the first live-action serial of Spider-Man. You had the 1960s cartoon that was now in syndication in the mornings and mid-afternoon. You had the superhero genre at this point was at an all-time high. CBS had the Lou Ferrigno's Incredible Hulk, which aired for 4 seasons altogether. They had Doctor Strange, which was about to be a series but didn't get picked up. And there's a lot of stories behind Spider-Man. But this was a series that people wanted. As a child, I remember watching this show and loving it. I mean, though I could say for myself too, I love 60s Batman, Adam West. I thought he was the coolest thing ever. Looking back now, man, I was a crazy kid thinking, looking at the mannerisms of Adam West and Robin. Spider-Man, he's a guy in a suit, but he tilts his head more so than Michael Myers, more so than there's no reason for half the stuff he's doing in costume. It makes no sense in terms of the actual the physical reasons of why he's moving the way he is. It makes no sense. You're just wearing a costume. It's not wearing the costume doesn't make you become that way, but you're overselling a perspective. And something I just picked up on watching this now. I'm like, this is really bizarre. But it was, as a child watching this was one of the best shows on television. For a child watching, loving superheroes and reading the comic books and watching the cartoons, to see your heroes on the small screen and just like living with them is, by far the best. It's similar to watching television now, streaming shows now. Now we're living in a different era, but like being able to watch, turning on your computer, tablet, or turning on your TV or streaming service, whatever, and watching The Boys or watching Invincible or watching, Supergirl or whatever, and having, your whatever your flavor, whatever your interest is, and having ability to tap into a genre that you truly love or a character that you want to see. You can watch, I think, 4 of the movie shows, the amalgamations of like the 2-parters, like the Chinese Web, Spidey Strikes Back, as well as the pilot. It's on YouTube for free. You can watch it. I'd recommend in terms of like trying to see the character. If you can bring this to like Tom Holland Spider-Man, this is like really interesting how the guy in a costume who is local, who is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man trying to exist, and and how is he seen by everyone else? He's a guy in pajamas flying around or swinging around on a rope. He's not going to be seen as serious in the beginning. And like the Tom Holland, the first one, he is a unknown superhero. He's not even considered like a respected superhero. He's just starting out, and he's developed, and this is an origin story, so he's getting his powers, he's getting to know his abilities. In this one, he's just fighting a low-level villain who's controlling people's minds, and this is kind of a really nice way to break into it. It's the effects are very well, for 70s television, it was probably, at its best at the time. And so looking at it now, you can see little things here and there, but it's kind of nostalgically fun to watch, and it's just sort of interesting to see how they did things back then. It's a thing called chroma key. It's a green screen. This is a stunt man. This is not him, obviously. This is kind of like there are certain things in 2021 eyes, and you're looking at this, you're like, wow, they had a limited range of techniques to look at, and you don't even have to be a film major or a television aficionado to know these things, but it's kind of cool to pick and see, how much we've come a long way in terms of the visual elements, in terms of special effects, in terms of production, even in terms of storytelling, and how, when you look at shows like Hill Street Blues, or Boschko shows, or Wolf, with Law and Order, how serial television storytelling, when it comes to like real urban gritty storytelling, real life storytelling, like Coronation Street, where it's like the people, everyday neighborhood people, as opposed to, let's say, The Love Boat or something like that, where you get shows which is not necessarily based in, I don't want to say reality, but I mean, there is some reality based like substance, but like it's in terms of how gritty you want it to be, in terms of how it connects with his audience. These are shows. This show like Spider-Man connects with a younger audience. Peter Parker's a character who is naive, but yet he's intelligent. He's a university student who works in a science lab. So even though he comes across naive and just sort of like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, he's intelligent. There is something going on. He's self-aware of himself. So he may come across a certain way, but then he has a look about him that he understands the situation, and it's just processed in a way that can throw you off. But he's Spider-Man. He's a superhero. He's aware of it. So there's more going on than meets the eye. There are things about this that you can't escape in terms of like the villains. There are Akita warriors, and he's fighting these guys, and then there. It's not offensive in any way, but why they're there, I couldn't tell you. And because of that, there is something at the end that kind of makes fun of it. It's kind of like on the nose humor, and it really is a kind of a fun family show that really showcases the hero. Because like what Christopher Reeve's A Man Can Fly came out in '78, so like this was another pivotal time of the reemergence of a superhero genre. Because Richard Donner's movie would be out the following year. This is the year that Star Wars came out. These are the things that really shaped the landscape. This was an era of a boom of where heroes and sci-fi came from. This was the cradle, the bedlam of like things to come. So what we're watching now comes from this, and this is what makes this such a unique story to review. I mean, in terms of production and look of it, it's not great. I mean, you look at Star Wars '77. I mean, when you're looking at it now, it's phenomenal what they've done with the technology, what Lucas had, and then and what he was able to bring, and the concepts. Still to this day, it's changed. People's like actors wouldn't like Deborah Wilson. I mean, for example, she got into acting and she chose her profession by watching Star Wars. Like Star Wars actually has influenced people in such a strong way that their career choices or directions in life would have gone something else they've never watched Star Wars. Things you see in advertising, things you see in technology like tablets, like phones, like cell phones. Like cell phones came out of like Star Trek with the intercom, with the communicators. That's a cell phone. That's something that Roddenberry created that we use today, which is like phenomenal. So looking at the basics of what you're seeing with Spider-Man '79, laugh at what you will at the show, but like this was the cradle of life for what we see today. And everything comes from a place. And these are the small steps in terms of a giant cog that made it to where we are now. So it's sort of like a grandfathering of ideas and concepts and origin stories. So Richard Hammond, who I'm a fan of from The Sound of Music, and David White, who plays who we know from Bewitched. The pilot has people who are recognizable. The pilot has characters like Robbie Robertson, who was a well-established and one of the earliest characters of color in the comic book world, who's played straight in the comic books and is played sort of straight here. There's a story of who the actor is and his contributions to the world of television series. His son, Hilly Hicks Jr., is the producer for Jessica Jones Season 3 and for a bunch of shows, cable shows on Showtime. So there's a lot of storytelling, there's a lot of backstory and history that comes from what began as humble beginnings to where we are now. If you check out my blog, I go into what I just said right now with Hilly Hicks and all the other stuff I mentioned. I get into more detail there. So because I know I'm not explaining myself right now. So, but I recommend checking this out. It's streaming for free on YouTube. If you want to understand what I'm getting at, I'm saying a couple. I'm realizing I'm saying a couple of things that may not make any sense to you because I'm trying to. I'm thinking about stuff as I'm saying it, and it may not come across as clear. Sorry, but I write a weekly blog that should sort of like make sense of what I am not making clear. I hope that kind of makes out. And if you want to listen to my audio portion of the podcast, I actually go into more detail about certain things with Evie, and it's a little bit longer than this, or maybe the same length, and hopefully that will make sense to you. So, but it's a recommend. It is again a 70s show, pardon the pun. So there are things that you're not going to initially connect with, but the concepts of it, its flaws, yes, sort of outweigh its positives, but in terms of historical references and its importance in terms of to the bigger picture, it's sort of a lost and forgotten show, and but it is part of history, and it's interesting to see, looking at Tom Holland's Spider-Man and where we've come so far from this. So with that, I am Ray. We'll see you next week. Take care.